Good morning, dear students. Today's topic is regarding yogasanas, mainly about asanas, its classifications, and let's see also the two schools of yogasanas and their stages of asanas. Now, what are the two schools of yogasanas? There is type 1, dynamic type of asanas of the Hatha Yoga. Then type 2 is relaxing type of asanas, which is performed on the principles by Patanjali in his sutras. Now let's see what is dynamic asana. This asana is with speed, which utilizes speed. Means example, we can give Surya Namaskara when we do in a faster movement, and there will be more of repetitions. Where in asanas we just maintain in particular movement, but here there is more of repetitions like 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, and often there will be jerky movement. An objective is to get rid of the laxity or the lethargy. Lethargy means laziness, and also tamas nature. Tamas nature means people who are inactive. And by repetitions, which develops the strength of the muscles and stamina of the organs and systems in the body. Here there is more expenditure of energy and perspiration. Perspiration is there will be more sweating when we do the dynamic type of asana, and which stimulates the nervous and glandular systems, resulting in evocation of energy. And this is recommended for children and lethargic people who are very inactive, even depression patient also we recommend this type of asanas. Surya Namaskara and loosening exercises, which can be included in the system of dynamic type, as it is a combination of different asanas. Now let's see relaxing asanas. This emphasizes on mental calmness through relaxation and effortlessness. And here there is maintenance for longer duration with ease. With ease means there is no much effort. Like in asanas, we maintain in particular movement for longer time. And here the aim is to develop inner awareness and to unfold the higher levels of consciousness. That is what our main aim is, to reach samadhi state. In every technique of yoga, the main aim is to reach the samadhi state. If you perform asana also, we have to reach that state. If you perform pranayama also, we have to reach that state. And this result in deep relaxation and energy conservation. Here there is no energy expenditure. The energy will be conserved, resulting in freshness, and it calms down the nerves. After performing yogasanas, we feel very refreshed. Now let's see stages in yogasanas. According to Maharshi Patanjali, there are 3 stages, that is Sthira, Chira and Sukha. Once again I'll repeat, Sthira, Chira and Sukha. Now what is Sthira? After gradual practice, one achieves steadiness. Gradual practice means initially with very slow movement we start doing yogasanas, and one achieves, after performing for many days, will achieve to the steadiness. Okay. Prayatna Shaitilya Ananta Samapatti means, that is one shloka, it means it is a Chira state. Okay, Prayatna Shaitilya Ananta Samapatti, it is one shloka according to Maharshi Patanjali, and it is a second stage, that is Chira, where people will be able to reach prescribed length of time. For example, initially I can give the example of Padahastasana itself, where we'll bend forward and where we initially we cannot place our forehead on the knees. Okay, so with gradual practice, daily when you practice, you are able to touch your forehead on the knees, and where you can maintain for longer duration, prescribed length of time. The mind control begins here. You can control your mind. Your mind is not distracted here. Okay, once you reach to the that state, means once you achieve that position, when you do it regularly, you'll achieve that position where you can maintain it for longer time, and also where you can control your mind without distracting, where you can take your awareness only on the body movements. And experiencing the bliss is called sukha. Sukha is the end state, samadhi state. Daily the people who do yoga, you might be knowing people who sits in Himalayas and all, they have reached to the samadhi state where they don't want food, they live only with air. All that it is there. Okay, Patanjali defines the nature of asana, means the definition of asana as sthiram sukham asanam. The definition of asana according to Maharshi Patanjali is sthiram sukham asanam. Now what is sukha? Sukha means dhyana. Sukha means dhyana means meditation. Okay, you should feel that happiness, that is called dhyana. And asana siddhi. Asana siddhi is samadhi state. Even after sukha there is one more stage, is called asana siddhi. It's a samadhi state. Okay, the meaning already I have said in in your previous class. Sthiram sukham asana means the posture should be steady and comfortable. These are the stages. Now let's see classification of asanas. Classification of asanas. There are cultural, meditative. In cultural there are physical, which all asanas, and relaxative, that is Shavasana, Makarasana, then meditative, Padmasana and Siddhasana. Now, according to yogic text, the number of asanas runs into 84 lakhs. Okay, there are 84 lakhs of asanas. However, they present the techniques of around 100 asanas. All of them recognize the worth of asana in the restoration of health and their therapeutic utility. As I said, classification of asanas: meditative asana, cultural asana and relaxative asana. You can also split cultural, relaxative and meditative, or cultural into physical or relaxative. You can divide cultural, relaxative and meditative. Anything you can do it. Okay, now let's see meditative asanas. Meditative asana are the sitting postures with a broad base where you have to keep your spine erect and symmetrical arrangement of the body. Examples are Padmasana, Siddhasana, Vajrasana, etc. comes under this group. They are primarily used for the practice of pranayama, meditation and similar higher practices of yoga. One has to choose suitable meditative asana as required and master it with long practice in order to maintain it comfortably for hours together. The posture thus obtained must be felt at ease. It should be effortless in order to withdraw the self from the body and concentrate on the higher aspects of the yoga. Okay, that was meditative asana. Example, Padmasana and Siddhasana also have given. Now what are cultural or corrective asanas? Okay, these are various positions of the body which bends and holds the spine, stretch various limbs, twist and bends different joints of the body, etc. Hope you understood. In general, cultural asana revolve around the spinal column, like bending it forward or backward or sidewards. Twist it to either side, stretch it fully or hold it in inverted position, etc. Further, they may increase or decrease the internal pressures in the various organs like the liver, pancreas, bladder, intestines and colon of the abdomen. They deploy the weight of the body segments as well as the force of the gravity to drive physiological advantages. These asana are generally utilized to strengthen various neuromuscular coordinations, functional efficiency of different systems and organs of the body, purification or better elimination of waste products from the body. Some yogic texts claim the benefit of purifying the nadis or nadi shuddhi as the main function of a few cultural asana, like some example Kukutasana. I think it's not there in your syllabus, don't worry. Now, see, according to B.K. Iyengar, he has described nearly 500 to 600 asana as important ones. 500 to 600. But in usual practice, 7 to 20 asana of this kind should yield the maximum benefits. One key utility of the cultural asana is that they can be deployed as therapeutic measures in the treatment or of certain functional disorders of psychosomatic origin. For this reason, they are also called as the therapeutic or remedial asana. Some of the examples of cultural asana are Paschimottanasana, Chakrasana, Trikonasana, Ardha Matsyendrasana, etc. I'll show the examples later. Now let's see what is relaxative type. As I said, you can also split cultural, relaxative and meditative. Okay. Instead of splitting cultural into two, you can split cultural, relaxative and meditative. Now what are relaxative asanas? These are the asana that are designed to give complete relaxation to the entire musculature of the body. The two well-known relaxative asana are Shavasana and Makarasana. Examples are given under relaxative type. They not only remove bodily fatigue, they also remove mental strain and thereby brings about peace and clarity of the mind. However, it must be remembered that even the difficult cultural asana could and should become more and more relaxative with proper training and practice. Then only they can be called to be asana according to the definition and procedure prescribed by Maharshi Patanjali. Hope you understood. Now, examples I have given: relaxation asana, that is Shavasana. Shavasana, benefits and all you can see later also. Then we have Makarasana under relaxation type. Then meditation asana like Sukhasana. Then Padasana. Then we have Vajrasana also under meditative asana. Then we have standing asanas like Tadasana, Hastasana. This is front bending postures. Example Paschimottanasana, that is in sitting posture. Then Padahastasana. And then we have back bending postures. Example and also Vrikshasana. Then topsy-turvy postures like Sarvangasana. This is Sarvangasana or Shirshasana. Shirshasana is head down, leg there. This is example for forward bending posture, Paschimottanasana, and one more was Padahastasana series. This is Shirshasana, head down, legs up. This Shirshasana and Sarvangasana comes under topsy-turvy postures. Now, different stage and phases in the performing of asana. Asana need to be understood as programs. It has a predetermined sequence of bodily actions or events and relaxation skill. As a learned skill, it can be considered as an acquired learned program. In practical terms, it is easily understood as step-by-step procedure like first step, second, third, etc. You can see here only in Shirshasana. First step, you have to interlock your fingers in front of your body. Then slowly you have to move forward and place your head in front of your palm. And then slowly you have to straighten your legs and then bend your knees, lift your legs up, like that. Step by step we have to do the asanas. Different steps should be chained into a smooth chain progressing towards the destination in a simple, economic and skilled manner. Like in pranayama, asana can be thought of consisting three phases in the performance. When we perform, there are three phases. First one is approaching phase. Listen carefully. First one is approaching phase. Second one is asana phase. And the third one is reversal or returning phase. Once again I'll repeat the three phases when we perform asanas. There are three phases. First one is approaching phase. Second one is asana phase. Third one is reversal or returning phase. Now let us see what is approaching phase. It is like brick by brick. How when we build building, brick, first we place one brick and again one more brick, like that only. It is like brick by brick building a procedure which takes the individual from the starting position to the desired asana condition within his reach and ability. Hope you understood approaching phase. It is like step by step or brick by brick building a procedure which takes the individual from the starting position to the desired asana condition within his or her reach and ability. Okay, that was approaching phase. Now let's see what is asana phase. Asana phase, when the practitioner relaxes his or her mind and body as required in the practice of yogic postures for a comfortable period of time. The asana is retained with total or partial relaxation of body musculature with necessary locks and holds required as per the techniques of asana, along with some sort of meditational condition of the body. The face is most important aspect of yogic asana. For this reason, longer maintenance of an asana is advocated instead of its repetition as in other exercises. Hope you understood what is asana phase. Once again I'll repeat. When the practitioner relaxes his or her mind and body as required in the practice of yogic postures for a comfortable period of time, the asana should be retained with total or partial relaxation of body musculature, but with necessary locks and holds required as per the techniques of asana, along with some sort of meditational condition of the body. The face is most important aspect of yogic asana. For this reason, longer maintenance of an asana is advocated instead of its repetition as in other exercises. Okay, the meaning is, see, when we do Trikonasana or Padahastasana, the longer you maintain, the more benefit you will get. Just bending and getting up, you will not get any benefit. If you maintain for 10 counts minimum, or there are seconds actually, 15 seconds or 30 seconds we have to maintain each asana. If you maintain 30 seconds, 30 seconds, the more benefit you will get. That is what they are trying to say. Next, the last phase is reversal or returning phase. When I took practical, I have said how you practice, like that only you have to release. That is a reversal or returning phase. Okay. After maintaining an asana with maximum comfort and stability, the body segments are brought back to the starting position following a step-by-step climbing down procedure. For example, in Shirshasana, see, the first step they have shown. Now after lifting both the legs straight up, now again you have to bend your knees and slowly bring back your toes down. Like that only you have to lift your head up, then you have to relax in Shashankasana. Like that you have to step by step you have to release the asana. Okay, if the approaching phase consisted of a step-by-step climbing up procedure, the returning phase involves the climbing down procedure like 4, 3, 2, 1. How we did approaching phase step by step? like brick by brick building up the thing, what is that, building, like that only. Even in reversal or returning phase, step by step only you have to release. That is actually performing asana. Hope you understood all the things. Thank you.